Welcome to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Our mission is to bring you discussions on a wide array of topics in the coaching world to grow players on and off the court. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and also reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Coach Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for another episode, wherever in the world you're listening to us from, whatever platform you guys are listening to us on. As always, as I say every episode, thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you for the support, the kind messages, the emails, the tweets, the questions that you've sent our way, or just the compliments that you've sent our way. They really do mean a lot, and I read them all, and I really do truly appreciate them. So thank you for joining us here for another episode, and let's just jump right into it. We're going to talk about something really important, kind of melding two important pieces together, talking about culture and talking about practice, two very fundamentally important parts to having a successful basketball program. And specifically, we'll talk about the concept of building a practice culture. So we're going to talk about what practice culture is, how to build up a culture where practices are successful, the structure of a practice, and a lot of other things as well. I think that as coaches, we want to win every single practice that we can. And I think the easiest way we can do that is establishing a really solid culture where there are high expectations for each practice and everybody leaves the gym feeling successful. So that is what we're going to get into today. And of course, I do not do this alone. I'm very happy to be joined by assistant coach out at Pea Ridge High School. Coach Bryan Rooney is joining us today. Coach, thank you for spending some time coming on to join and talk to us. How are things going?
Oh man, thank you so much for having me. Man, things are going great. We're in the middle of a lot of summer camps. We have a huge fundraiser where we do pretty much K through sixth grade, pretty much the entire community of a community-wide boys and girls basketball camp. It's like 4 gyms, it's like 200 kids. It's been a wild week so far. But
Never
it's
a dull
great.
moment, huh?
No, that's
No,
for sure.
that's
I
crazy.
drew the short end of the stick this year, so I've spent a lot of time in the K through 2 areas. So
Yeah,
it's
that's a whole
been
different level of basketball
yeah,
right
baby.
there. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Coach, let's start with your basketball journey and your coaching journey. Where's the game of basketball taking you? Where's your coaching journey taking you? And ultimately, how did you end up in your assistant role at Pea Ridge High?
Yeah, man, I've been around, I think, like everybody who coaches, and I've been around basketball pretty much my whole life. I grew up in a really small community town in Arkansas called Guy, Arkansas. Um, uh, I actually played for a coach named John Hutchcraft. He's the winningest basketball coach in Arkansas history. He finished 2,100 and 600 after 43 years. So he coached a lot of games, coached all those teams, and I think he'll forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think he has 11 state championships. Just a really big basketball community. I only graduated with 19 people, so you can imagine the size of the school. I mean, it was very small, but very proud of their basketball culture. And from there, I knew I wanted to be involved with basketball. I wasn't very good at it, but I was always passionate about the game. And the more I improved, I think I started to enjoy it more. And then I decided to go into coaching. Worked for 9 years at a school called Little Rock Christian Academy out in Little Rock. And then head coach for a couple years in Northwest Arkansas. And then from there, I'm now at Pea Ridge High and just loving it.
Awesome. That's quite the journey that you've had there. A lot of stops in between and
Yeah.
a lot of basketball. Oh, that's
A
awesome.
ton of basketball, and I've been fortunate. I think I've done every level. I think I've done all the way to 7th grade to head coach varsity, and worked some Team USA camps. I've done a lot of different levels, and I think I kind of enjoy that. I think it's kind of been I've seen a lot, when you seen everything to, working with kindergartners this morning
Mm-hmm.
to, doing workouts with um uh, you know, uh, NBA players, former NBA players. So I've done kind of every different level. So it's been really enjoyable.
Awesome, Coach. Appreciate you sharing your journey. What is, just as a follow-up to that, what would you describe the basketball culture kind of like in you're Arkansas, I believe, correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
Arkansas.
so
Yeah.
what is kind of the culture of that? Because I got a familiarity with, like Indiana, and I know some things about the surrounding area in here, but I don't know a whole lot about Arkansas. So what would you describe kind of the basketball culture over there as?
Arkansas, I consider it a basketball state. I mean, the Razorbacks, we follow the Razorbacks really closely. We don't have a professional team in the state, so obviously the University of Arkansas is big, but there's such a great basketball culture here with Mike Neighbors, Eric Musselman.
Yep.
They're so accommodating to high school coaches here. They let you come to practices. They'll send you anything you want. Uh, they're awesome. And then there's a lot of really good high school basketball in Arkansas. I think some of the rules um, maybe that other states hasn't hit us yet.
Shot
So
clock or no?
yeah, we do. We just had a shot clock for the
Okay.
first year. But some of the rules in terms, I guess, of access to practice and things haven't hit us quite
I
yet, where
see, I
we
see.
don't have non-contact. Uh, you know, um, I don't need to say it too loud or they'll hear us, but they, there's only 2 weeks in the summer and 4 or 5 days in the winter where we can't practice. So we can be in the gym. We're in the gym a lot.
Oh yeah,
So,
no, it's pretty open here in Arizona
oh,
too.
that's great.
So
Yeah,
that's
that's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
I think sometimes some places, some of my friends coach in other states, and
Very
uh,
restricted, yeah.
and it sounds like it's hard to outwork somebody over there,
Uh-huh.
So
But no, that's awesome. Yeah, no, Coach Neighbors in particular, he's great.
yeah.
He's a great guy, man. There's so much
Oh
great
man.
stuff from him.
Yeah, just you just steal stuff from him constantly. He just has such a great understanding of just scoring and offense, but just how to make drills fun.
Yeah.
That goes a long way.
Uh-huh, absolutely. I know one of the things you're passionate about, Coach, is skill development. So, talk a little bit specifically about is there specific areas of skill development you're passionate about, or are there skills that you enjoy kind of developing the most? Like, where does that passion come from, and what do you like to do skill development wise?
Yeah, I think growing up, I was really bad at basketball. I was not a good basketball player growing up. I played, and I played a lot, and but I never got over the hump until a little later in my career. And I kind of fell in love with watching Dirk Nowitzki play. And like he's so unathletic, and and I remember, it was like 2000 and I was just like, man, the way this guy just kind of stumbles around, but man, he just gets open, he finds ways to create shots in space. And I felt like for me, it kind of became my love of coaching kind of came from there, I think,
Oh
because it
yeah.
kind of clicked with me that um, I can play the game, even if I'm not as fast or I can't jump as
Mm-hmm.
high, or my understanding of the game. And if I can get really good at some really simple things, then I can be a lot more creative with other things. So it kind of, and I think at that point I thought, well, and that's when I started to focus more on just my development, my shot, like how did it, how did the shot feel, and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think basketball, before we started, we kind of talked about volleyball. Basketball is such a unique sport where I think rules really affect the basic movements of the game. Like there's not many sports that I can think of where the rules dictate where you can move and how you can move and how you can get there.
Sure.
Um, and so there's probably, I think more than most sports, I think there's a correlation between how much you'll enjoy it and how good you are. I think in a lot of other sports, you could be really great at your role in football and never be good at catching one, never be good at throwing one, never be fast, never be, but in basketball, the better you get at it, the more fun the games become. And I think there's a translation error a lot of times when you work with younger kids, because you want the game to be really fun, but the better they become at it, the more the ball goes in, the more they don't turn it over,
Mhm.
the more they can dribble it without it getting taken away, the game becomes more and more fun. So I think at that, I think so when I think that all kind of clicked with me, or maybe that just became a passion of mine. It's just like, if we can just work, if we can just make them make the skill part of it fun, if we can make getting better fun, then we can make the game fun. Because I think we've all had like young kids, and you just throw them out there 5-on-5, and like nobody's having fun.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
there's one kid dribbling around nine of them, and they're running clown car offense where they see how many people they can fit in one spot, and nobody enjoys that. And it's not until you kind of learn the game and learn some basics that the game becomes more enjoyable.
So it sounds like you kind of like doing kind of like everything of skill development, ball handling, shooting, everything like that. Is there something you talked about, making it fun, and I'm just
Yeah,
curious, is there like a certain type of like maybe drill that you like to do with your players or whatever, something like
sure.
fun that they enjoy doing?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm a big, and I think most coaches are, whether they realize it or not. Like I think most skill people are for sure. I'm a big footwork guy. I'm a big weak hands. I'm a Drew Hanlon, and I don't know,
Oh
pure
yeah,
sweat,
no,
Drew Hanlon.
yeah, yeah.
I'm a Drew Hanlon fanboy. There's nothing pure sweat doesn't do that I don't spend money on it. So anything Drew Hanlon does, I think is gold. But I do load step layups. I don't. That's what I call them. But I like those. It's hard to explain. It's where Drew Hanlon, and you kind of load up on your load kind of staggered stance, and you just kind of make it fun where you get one dribble to the rim, or trying to score one dribble, two steps, and you start to work on that first step. And I think you start to realize, I think you can go a long way, just working on how do we explode, like how do we take off, and like what's good footwork. Is there a lot of are we taking a lot of wasted steps? Could we just explode
Kind
and
of
get
being
here?
more efficient.
Yeah, and being
Yeah.
more efficient with our movements. And I think with every kid I work with, whether it's at individually, privately or whatever, and in a group workout, we spend a lot of time on just footwork, just how we take off.
And Drew Hanlon, I know he's got a big presence on YouTube, doesn't he? I know, he's
Oh
got a lot of
yeah,
stuff
I
out there
mean
too.
he's
So
big on Twitter. Like he's in a
big
Jason,
everywhere, I think.
yeah, he's in a big Jason Tatum battle on Twitter right now. He's Jason Tatum's trader, but there's not he's got so much YouTube content. And I mean that's the great thing about, I think, coaching now is there's probably some negativities to social media and all this access, but I think one thing that is incredible is there's no excuse not to have good ideas
Oh,
because
there's so much out there. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you're just, if you don't have good ideas, you're just not looking. Because I mean, I think trying to applying those ideas, I think, is where where the
Yeah,
issue
it's
is. So
finding the stuff that works for you and the stuff that's good
right,
out there with so much out there, right? No, I agree. There's so much there if you know where to look, and that sometimes is the hard part. But if you know where to look, there's tons out there for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I that's how I first heard about him is I think on YouTube. Probably had some videos that got real popular. I know he did a lot of ball handling stuff and everything. So
yeah.
that's where I first remember hearing about him.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's great.
John Beck is a guy that works with Pure Sweat, and he's in kind of Drew Hanlon's. I don't know how that all works, but he's a Pure Sweat coach as well,
Hmm.
and he's in the Northwest Arkansas area right up here, and we meet and talk all the time. And
Oh, nice.
I steal stuff from him. He comes over, we have dinner. I mean, it's those guys. I mean, you talk about eating, breathing, sleeping basketball.
That is what they do.
that
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
that's what they do. I mean, they don't say anything that they haven't thought
Yeah,
about.
yeah, that's awesome. What a great resource to have locally too.
Yeah, it's
That's
great.
really cool. When it comes to the topic of practice culture, something that you said when we were first talking, which I thought was really interesting, is that you mentioned how great practices require vulnerability, and so I was curious, what does that mean that great practices require vulnerability? What does that mean, and kind of what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, so this is kind of where I feel. I guess this is my opinion on layman sports psychology, but I think being good at something takes, and being good at basketball especially, takes a lot of courage. I think um, you have to put yourself out there, and you have to be able to fail, because no matter how good you are, there's going to be these moments in basketball of monumental failure. Like you're going to miss the shot, you're going to lose the game, you're going to turn it over. Like there's no player that this doesn't affect. And I think you have to be able to, I think it takes a lot of courage to kind of face the inevitability of failure, because you know you're going to fail. And so I think there has to be regular failure in practice, because you have to create, I think a really common defense mechanism is like being too cool to succeed. I feel like I
Yeah,
see
sure.
this all the time with, especially, young teenage kids, man, is um I don't, it's the opposite of try hard, like it's like soft trying. It's like
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah. I
they,
mean,
they
there's like fake hustle and there's things
yeah,
like
like
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they don't they don't want to put themselves out there and fail. Like that's embarrassing. I mean, it's embarrassing to completely buy in and it not work. Like that
Hmm.
sucks, and it doesn't look cool. So I think um, really early on in practices, trying to establish, like I talk about how we build our house. When we try to build because every day as a practice is a house you're going to live in. Like we're going to live in this thing as a family. So what kind of house do you guys want to live in? So we have to build this house without judgment, and we have to be able to disconnect ourselves from the result and connect ourselves to the attempt. Like
Yeah.
um, is effort there? Is intensity there? Is application there? That's a really good freaking rip. I'm really happy with that rip. Like, was competition there? Did we compete? Did we go at each other? Not did it go in? Did we win the game? Am I on the winning team? And I think trying to set up failure regularly, and so that the kids feel comfortable failing in front of each other.
That
And as
takes a lot of culture building, I think, where players feel like that they can be comfortable with failure. I imagine something like that does take time where they know that it's okay to give it their all and still fail.
Yeah, I think they have to establish it. I think, and by establish it, I think you have to talk to these teams. Like right now, I'm working with our freshmen as they're coming into their freshman year, and we have I'll head coach the freshman team
Hmm.
this next season. And as we get these freshmen ready, I think one thing we have to preach all the time, and I think the way you establish it is like you get them together, and you sit down with them, and like we said, what do you want from this experience?
Yeah.
What kind of experience do you guys want? Do you want it to be drama free? Do you want to be do you want to be successful at a level, like at an attainable level for whatever that group is? Do you want to get better? Do you want to improve? Do you want to feel like you can go all out and not? Do you want that experience? And then if that's what they want, then you commit to, we're going to hold you accountable to this experience. Like this is what you said you wanted, and
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
is this the house you want to live in? And I think as you start to address things like that, it becomes more of a, it becomes a family. It becomes communal. I don't
It's
know if
kind of like
that
that
makes sense.
shared, it's kind of like that shared experience that they all get to go through that like nobody else gets to go do. And they kind of all, they all have their backs and they all support each other and they
Sure.
know that their failure in practice is still a sign of growth. And I think that if the teammates recognize like, hey, they're not, doing this well at the moment, but they're improving and they're getting
Right.
better at it, that's what's beneficial for the team is failure in a practice setting is beneficial in the long run because then they can build off that and learn from it and just get better.
Yeah, and it's gonna happen. I mean, failure is gonna like it's gonna happen. Like I mean, even you go undefeated, you're gonna miss shots, you're gonna have bad quarters, you're gonna have stretches where
Hmm.
you look like you don't know what you're doing. I mean, and I think if you address those in practice, I think I'm a big I'm a big C.S. Lewis guy. I'm obsessed over at a young age. I got really into the Narnia series, and just
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know why, but but he has this little. He wrote this thing about I don't. It's like a just a segment from a book, but it's about rats and light, and it always stuck with me about practice and because like if you walk into your basement, you turn on the lights, right? And there's
Hmm.
rats everywhere and they scatter. You don't call an electrician to have the lights taken out so that you don't deal with you deal with like the problem is not the lights. The problem is the rats. And I really, especially early in my career when and I mean every coach deals with stuff, but my so many of my issues in
Hmm.
coaching when I first started and was I designed all my practices, whether I meant to or whether it was not, even if it wasn't like a conscious decision. So many of my practices were about uh, hiding the rats, keeping the lights turned off.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I got this player with bad body language, so I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to move them to a group where they win, like so that I don't have to
Just
deal.
shuffle it around a little bit,
Yeah,
hide
yeah,
it a
yeah.
little bit. Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm not gonna, they get frustrated when we do a lot of weak hand stuff because they don't like when they have to run a lot for weak hand layups or whatever. I don't know, but so I'm not going to do that today because they seem like they're in a bad mood. Like I think you have to have tact when you plan practices and understand the temperature of your team, but at the same time anything you ignore just gets bigger, and so it's so much. I feel like everyone gets so much more out of it if you address what happens. That doesn't mean you have to die on every hill, but I think
Hmm.
you have to be ready to defend the team and defend the kind of practice that you want to have, and not just the practice you want to have, but the experience that they've committed to. You know, you can talk about like we can talk about that's not a good shot in that situation, and we can say that, and we don't have to be like we can understand why it's not a good shot, and that we can take a better one next time. And like
Yeah,
uh, we don't have to connect. I think as you continue to disconnect their value to the team uh, as a result, and more about how the player treats how they interact, how they make each other feel, what their intensity is, what their focus is, like that's their value in the team, and not the result of what happened. Then I think you start to they start to feel more comfortable with the attempt and
sure.
don't worry so much about if it works out or if they look stupid, or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree with that. That's well put. And you kind of mentioned a little bit and touched on this, but I did want to ask directly about, you think about a good practice culture. When a practice is over and it's a successful practice for you and your program, what does that look like? What has to happen for you to walk out of that gym knowing that that practice was a success?
I think I like right now I always ask a guy I work with, Coach Douglas, one of the coaches on staff. I always ask, um, I say, are we using it? I'll say, are we using it? Are you like, and he's, he knows that like, that means are we, um, are we applying what we worked on? You know, like like um during practice, I call it the bird box test, where
Okay.
I'll close my eyes. You know, I'll just cover
Yeah.
my eyes and do I know we're having a good practice if my eyes are closed? Like, can I hear it? Are we talking? Is the ball popping? You know, I think depending on your drill or whatever you're doing, but like the 2 or 3 things, are we like that we talked about that we're working on this drill, are we focused on those 2 or 3 things? You know, are
Hmm.
we, and anytime we're not using it, we're not like, then that that was that was a wasted you know section. Like
Sure.
that's and I think I beat myself up practice planning. I think a lot. I think I beat myself up about um you know waste, obviously wasted time, but how efficient was it? Like, was there, and probably every coach does this, but like, could we have been doing something else? And
And how long are your practices?
um, a normal practice hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say, this time of year it's a little shorter because everybody, it's May and they're tired of seeing each other, and so I go about an hour, 15
Hmm.
hour right now. And it's mostly a lot of just skill work. But yeah, you just, when you're doing reps, I were you efficient? Like, I think did the team feel like, even if they don't have to leave happy every day, that's fine. They may not leave going, all right, yay, that was
Yeah.
great. Like, but they need to know, leave, they need to leave knowing that they improved, you know. But to me, I think urgency there. Like, were we going through it with with, I like, I'll say, like, okay, this, like, every drive is like the game winner, like we've got to go every,
Like
like
all out, yeah.
yeah, if our rep isn't with, I think very simple drills, with really specific concepts. um i think I think once again, I think the more skilled, kind of the more skilled you are, uh,
Hmm.
at the step before in your progression as a player, I think the more creative and the more varied the opportunities are, at that next step in your game, because you have such a solid foundation to build on.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
No, that's really cool, and I like the eyes closed test that you mentioned at the beginning. You kind of
yeah,
just get kind of like a feeling without looking, right? You can just kind of like
yeah,
see it just from just kind of like just the way the gym sounds and everything are.
yeah,
And my big thing is always like, are people talking? Are people like are
sure,
communicating and things like that? And that's when I know, like, okay, like we're doing what we need to, because if it's quiet or people are don't look like they got their heads up and paying attention,
yeah.
I know right then and there we're in trouble.
I thought about doing a drill, not a drill, like a test today, because um Coach Douglas, he came up to me and said, "Hey, the music, we have music in practice a lot, and uh, I feel like I didn't realize how little they were talking until I paused the music today, and then it went,
Oh yeah,
I was
that
like,
hides it, huh?
yeah, and so I was like, man, like when you're in a car with your friends and you're all singing, and then they stop the music and like everybody's still singing, like I'm gonna start doing that, just pausing the music in the middle of practice, and if it's quiet, we just run right then, like, all right, we weren't
Uh-huh.
talking.
That's funny. Yeah. It's like you sometimes the music and other stuff, or sometimes you as coaches are talking so much and that you can't even
Yeah.
hear your own players.
Oh
No,
man.
that's funny.
Yeah.
In terms of practice structure and the way that you structure a practice, is that had the same sort of routine, the same structure, or have you varied that throughout the years?
No, I mean, it's been such a.
The
I mean, I
evolution
think,
of your
yeah, I
practices.
think you just evolve. I mean, I think even as the game evolves, I think you evolve. But I mean, as the players you get evolves, I think, um, Coach Neal, the guy I work for right now, he's such a he, one of the best X and O's guys I've ever seen. I mean, if you want to get a player a shot in a certain spot, I mean, this guy. I mean, I've learned a ton from him in the last 2 years. It's been a lot of fun to work for him. And but he, uh, he his practices have really taught me, him and Mike and Coach Neighbors at University of Arkansas. Um, they do such a good job of kind of standardized testing in practices where they score and time things so much. And that was something that I had not, I mean, this sounds dumb, but I was 12 years in when I started working for him, and, had been a head coach and had been an assistant. I'd done every level, but this concept of like, oh, we could score in time everything, and like
it's immeasurable. Yeah.
And we're always up against it, you know what I mean? And like now I think we cheat ourselves a lot because we're like, I say me, or I cheated a lot of players accidentally, I think early in my career, because I think I didn't make them all of our competition was against each other. And I think that's great, but there's a lot of times you're against the clock as a team. And now maybe they didn't have to they didn't have to go at each other so hard every day. But I think practices just kind of evolve. But I've definitely um, been made a believer in scoring and timing things and having standards of completions for drills.
So what is that kind of, or is that something that was happening this past year as well?
Yeah.
And what did that kind of look like?
So one coach, Neil, one thing that he'll do is we'll do like we call it Blackhawk shooting. Our mascot's a Blackhawk, which I think is such a cool mascot. I mean, like what's your mascot? What's your school?
We're the Knights.
The Knights. See, that's really cool. I think like nothing against Bulldogs and Wildcats and stuff like that. There's just so many. I think to have something like we have a lot of cool ones in Arkansas. We have like some dragons and zebras, and we have some cool ones. But if you think of some weird ones in Arizona, you need to let me know what they are. I'm a big fan of those.
Okay, we got quite a few of interesting ones. I'll say that we have honey badgers. I know is one of them that we have, and
I would transfer. I don't know what the rules are, but as a player, I would transfer immediately if I could be a honey badger.
Yep, we got that. That's funny.
Sorry, no, but some of the things we'll do to score in time, like we'll do Blackhawk shooting, and then we'll just do shots, and we'll time 6 minutes from set spaces, and they have to make 100 in 6 minutes, or we'll do a cyclone drill 16 in 2 minutes, or and if we don't do that, we get, we'll have Coach Sipis was at the University of Wisconsin. He was the women's coach there, and I went and watched a couple of his practices, and I got them on Amazon, but I have these two big like hexagon dice, big foam dice with workouts on them, and if they don't make it, they'll roll the dice, and it'll be like 20 burpees. You know what I mean? And so the team, if you don't make it, you roll the dice and you do the exercise. Like we'll do that in the off season, or a lot of times in season we don't have time for as much of the, we're trying to get things done. So we might do, you get a down and back for every point you're shy in a drill, or whatever. It just it gives them, you're going against the clock instead of always going against each other, but you're still competing, And once again, like that. The vulnerabilities out there, I think about, bad practices that I've had as a coach, and I feel like so many of them stem from bad situations, bad interactions with players that I didn't handle right, or I could have handled better, or and then that situation flows and grows into this other situation. And if we would have just addressed the first thing that happened and it would have been weird, but that one thing I ignored, now and now we've all got to pretend, like that thing didn't happen. We've all
Just
like,
sweep it under the rug sort of
yeah,
thing,
like,
or avoid it. Yeah.
and, and I think, when, I think as it gets more and more comfortable, because you get more and more comfortable as a team, but, but I think, just as the planning of practices goes, or, uh, just being more comfortable with just addressing the stuff
Hmm.
that happens.
So let me ask then, if something does happen or a mistake
Yeah.
happens or something does need to be addressed, is it like an immediate blow the whistle and then like address it there, or what does that sort of like look
I mean,
like?
I think there's like, and once again, okay, so I think this is different for every coach and every team. And so I don't think there's, I guess, a necessarily a right way to do things, but I think also the thing I'm talking about is like whatever your, whatever your culture is,
So
like
it's a right.
the thing that you stop practice for is like the thing that they're going to remember. I feel like, the thing, like, I think those are the things like you are passionate about, because you're like, those are the things that are important to you, because those are the things that you're voicing,
Yeah,
so
yeah. So if it's like somebody maybe like slacking or not,
right.
giving effort or
Like
being like
mine's
maybe
body language, like
body
that's the
language.
thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's the thing. Like if you pout or like like that, I mean, if like, I'm gonna, uh, now I'm not, usually I would say typically if it's something like that, the first thing I'm going to do is just connect with that player. Like, and if I haven't connected with that player since they've been in here, like, this is the time I'm going to do it. Like, so they're in the drill, I'm going to walk up to them
Hmm.
and I'm going to try to connect with this player, and I'm going to get a thermostat. Like, I'm going to get a temperature check. Like,
Temperature
okay,
check on other.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
what's
What's
going
going
on
on?
here?
Yep, yep.
And then I think, from there, that kind of, like, if that point, if you say, okay, are you good? Like, this, I noticed XYZ. Are you good? Are we good? Like, what's going on? Everything. And I think if you feel like it's something, because I think it's all across the spectrum. Like, like, I've had kids go, no, everything's good. I've also had kids go, my, mom, dad, this, that, the other.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't, my
Things
stomach
happen. Yeah.
hurts. Yeah,
Hmm.
life happens, and I think you just, obviously you have to just address that situation as whatever that is, but I think, um, after that, like, you say, okay, like, we're practicing, okay, it's on, like, we're we're in it, and I think after that, I mean, then that's when, like I think the whistle blows. We like, sometimes we'll huddle, you know, and I'll say, listen, you know, um, you know, Sarah's body language is not great, like, we've got, like, Sarah, your body language isn't great. I would never, like, I don't ever try to huddle and get one kid, like, but, like, I'm gonna pick, I'm gonna say like 5 or 6 things,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
there's one in there that's
yeah.
like really, but, and then if obviously if it's like a distractor for practice, then you gotta set them aside and address that, whatever. But the I think at that point you address it with the team. Like, we've got to pick this up, or, you know, this is what you said you wanted. This is what we're going to hold us accountable to. One of the things we said was, like one of the things with the freshman team, one of their things this year that they wanted or committed to at the first year that they wanted to be held accountable to was they didn't want to have bad practices. So we defined what a bad practice was. And so today, I smoked them today. We we ran,
Uh-oh.
because um uh the we said that a bad practice was low energy. You guys said you hated when practices were low energy, and we weren't getting after it, and we weren't talking, and we weren't going. You guys said you hated practices like that. So if we don't turn it around, we're going to run until we do figure it out. And then, and then we run or whatever, and, then practice got better. But I feel like we have to remind each other that that's what we all wanted. You know, like that, like this isn't some arbitrary goal that Coach Rooney set up. you know,
Yeah.
this is something that we all said we didn't want. You guys said you didn't want that.
And I think it's easy to, say or establish these things in the beginning of the season or anything
Sure.
like that, but then to actually like follow through with it and stay committed to it and
Yeah.
really go through. That's when all those, ideas that you came up with at the beginning as a team really get tested, is when you actually do have to hold each other accountable and
Yeah, man.
follow
The
on that,
rats
right?
come out when the lights are on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes low energy practice, right? That's when
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
gotta have that kumbaya meeting, have that moment
Yeah,
with
and I
them.
think, and I think it doesn't have to be this big, y- such a big part of like being a player's coach or whether, the different kind of coaches, but I think such a big part about being a coach today, especially, and I can't speak for other levels, but I see the high school level, I've seen it for 20 years, but
Yeah.
the you have to be able to relate and manage these relationships. Like, they will not play hard for you if there's not a relationship there. Like, I mean, maybe there's some really special kids that will just play hard no matter what, regardless of anything. But the kids that you have that relationship with, and it doesn't mean you're best friends, and it doesn't mean but when there's respect and understanding, and they
Hmm.
know you care about them and they care about you, and there's well-defined roles, I think you start to get something, those special kind of teams to start happening, and those I mean, they want to come, players want to come work for someone who you know cares about them, loves them.
Right. And that you can't really fake that. And if you can't fake it for long, that's for sure. Like they'll know. They'll
Yeah,
know that if
yeah.
you actually want to be there and you actually care, sort of
And the
thing.
discipline won't matter to them. Yeah, I'm like, like uh, uh, the accountability, like if they won't, they don't care about, like, if they don't care about the team, if they don't care about the situation they're in, then why do they care about the culture of it? I
Hmm.
mean, and I think I know 100% that especially early in my career, and I learned a lot. You learn, and I'm a lot better at it than I was 10 years ago. And hopefully, we can podcast again,
Yeah.
in 10 years later, and I'll be better at it still then, but so much was just mm, trying to work around the things, uh, situations, and attitudes and body language, and I try to appease. I think there's a lot of appeasement and trying to make everybody happy, and that is the quickest way to
That
make everyone
you're
mad.
in trouble
Like,
at that point.
yeah, and um you if you're worried about losing kids to standards, I feel like you've already lost the kid. You've already
Hmm.
lost, if you're, if I hold them accountable to this, they're not going to want to be a part of it. Then that the culture you want, is
No,
that
no. Yeah.
so?
Yeah. It's no, that's definitely the quicker you can learn that lesson, I think, in your coaching career, the better, because
Yeah, for sure.
it's going to be tough
Yeah.
to try and recover at the end. When it comes to things that you can run on the court or in game situations, what do you feel that your program can do on the court that is a result of the way that your practice culture is?
Yeah. Um, I I'm sure you could talk to a lot of different people and get different different opinions on my coaching ability, But I think, um, without a doubt, I don't think I've ever had teams not play with urgency
Hmm.
and effort. And I think, if they're I really I feel like that's just a person. Once again, I think your team is going to be a reflection of kind of how you feel about the game of basketball, and but I just think I've been a part of. I think I've been fortunate enough to be a part of teams that maybe they were a little behind skill wise, but they still win games or really compete at high levels because against teams who would wear them out in a game of horse, but they played with so much urgency and so much effort, and every possession was so important to them that they would get ugly putbacks and rebound and dive and
Just fight for it all.
yeah, and I think when the lights come on, man, it's 5-on-5, and I think if you go at I think last year was a really good example, and this is low level basketball. This isn't anything probably worth podcasting about.
Oh
But
no, it's all
I
worth.
but we had a group of seventh graders
Okay.
who did not their seventh grade year didn't before they got to us had not won didn't win a game and scored 15 points combined the whole season.
Okay.
And
That sets the table for it.
yeah,
All right,
so
all right.
yeah, and this and I met with them, but I really did feel like there were some pieces in there. I thought there was some athleticism and some kids that really knew how to. I would say really knew how to kind of bow their neck. They were tough. They they hadn't had it. They didn't have an easy draw growing up. Tough
Yeah, sure,
kids,
sure, sure.
and but I came and met with them, and I said, if you guys will come 6 a.m., if you guys will commit for the next year, just come. And we worked out a schedule. And this last season, they went 16-4 and won their conference.
That is
And
awesome.
same kids. It just is, and that's just eighth grade basketball. But just being committed to playing really hard and developing, I think and being able to face adversity, that's a lot of adversity. We were down to 6. I mean, we had 6
You're
kids.
going through it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, everybody quit except those 6, and those 6 they came. I mean, they worked and I was and this is after I even winning state championships and having good seasons before. I was probably as proud as those little kids, as
Oh, I'm
any
sure.
team I've ever had, because I think,
Stick with it.
I mean, just watching them develop, and I'm excited now. They're going to be freshmen. I'm excited to watch them a little bit, just because uh, because of that. I think they've really kind of. I know 2 of them for sure. They've really kind of fallen in love with basketball.
Oh, that
You know,
experience, I'm sure, will
yeah,
do it for him, right?
but once again, there's that skill floor. There's just there's such a. I feel like there's such a high entry level to being able to compete in basketball.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean that's probably gonna stick with them their whole life, I think, an experience
Yeah,
like that, right?
yeah. I hope so. I think and I've when I was at Little Rock Christian, I worked for a guy named Ronald Rogers, and one of the greatest, probably the best coach I know. He probably won't ever hear this, but he's battling stomach and esophageal cancer. I love that guy, and I'm praying for him every day. But I worked for him for 5 years, and I tell you, man, you talk about making kids play hard. I mean, that guy, he's still at Little Rock Christian. They just but while I was there, we had several kids go play at the next level. And I was really fortunate to just, when you're on a staff and you're fortunate to just be a part of it. And I was really fortunate to be the JV coach there and be the assistant varsity and watch some really special kids come through. We had kids play at SMU, West Virginia, and Pitt, and we had all in the same class. I mean, we were fortunate and really blessed at that time. And but I tell you, the their you know their commitment to dominating basic skills, I will die believing that that's what put them over players that were uh, more athletic or maybe had a little better exposure on the AAU circuit, but they were just so consistent because they really were committed to dominating basic skills of the game.
That's incredible. I mean, just the work ethic that you've kind of been describing over these past few minutes just sounds like incredible of all these players, and it's just like almost regardless of the scoreboard result, just to have anyone work as hard as they are, let alone have the success that they are too. Like that's some incredible
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean,
And
yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I think I mean, I don't think I think how you do it is you know, I guess that's the house you build, but I think that
sure.
just kids working and kids learning the lesson that if I put the time in, like if I put the work in, I can be successful, and that may not mean, that doesn't, once again, you have to understand, you have to set what your standards of success, I think,
Hmm.
are. But if your standard of success is improvement and um, developing, then I think there's no way you don't get better.
No,
There's
no,
no way
absolutely
you
not.
weren't successful.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. I mean, I imagine too. I'm just thinking also on the court stuff. You got players like that buy in. I'm just thinking you could probably like run some hardcore, press action and just play up tempo and
Oh
just
yeah,
get right after it.
that's
And you
yeah,
must be
and
doing some fun basketball at that point.
yeah, I've always, I've always been, a major up tempo guy. I mean, Coach Hutchcraft, I mean, the guy I played for in high school, I mean, he plays defense with four most of the time. He's a snowbird machine. I mean, that's he just,
Yeah, yeah.
but they get up and press, but I'm, I think just regardless of, I've had, um, I can think philosophy wise, I've assisted a lot of different philosophies. I've head coached and I've coached different philosophies, but I think regardless of the philosophy, whether it's man to man or zone or you could argue that, but you got to do what's best for your team, what they're going to buy into, what they believe in. But
Hmm.
regardless, if you're not doing it with effort and energy and urgency, then I don't know that it matters
Then
what you
what are
do.
you doing?
you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, I 100% agree with
So
that.
I feel like I've always felt like that's the I think that's underworked skill from early in my career in practice was urgency, effort, and I thought, oh, if we, if we do the right drill, or not, or if we can make enough shots, or if I work on this today, then they'll get it. But the standard of energy and effort and
Hmm.
urgency, we can always bring that, whether the ball goes in or, that's a controllable, and I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
if that's our focus, I think we're a lot better off.
Yeah, 100% agreed. Before I get to our concluding segment, I want to just kind of throw this out you if there's maybe a new coach or somebody who's maybe looking to change the culture of their program
Yeah.
in terms of practice, the way that they practice. What advice would you give maybe for a new coach or somebody stepping into a new role and establishing like positive culture like day one, right at the beginning, what that coach should maybe look into doing?
Oh man. Uh, I think this, as corny as it sounds, I think the first thing I do is just if you're showing up and you don't love kids, and if if you're doing it because you love winning and losing in that, then you're gonna hate it. You got to
Yeah.
show up and you got to love kids. I think that's the first and foremost. I think that's it. But um, I think, and however, whatever you do, you love kids, but I think you have to show up, and you have to have commitment and belief uh, to what you are doing. And you like they're not gonna all like you. They're, you know, all the fans aren't gonna like you. All, and every situation is not gonna make every person happy. And I think um, understanding what your values are, making sure that before you go into any position, any coaching position, that you understand the values that you feel like you want to hold true. And I think you got, and then have commit to those. And
Mhm.
I think be um, and don't let it and let it be something controllable. Something like energy, effort, honesty. Those
Not
things.
really basketball related.
Yeah, don't. If I think if um, I wanted to win, I wanted to win real bad when I first started, and I think um, I still, and obviously, I love winning, and I think everybody
It
hates
is nice.
losing. Yeah, I mean, but uh, yeah, but just I think early in my career, I I would encourage everyone to any coach that want to get started is just to be committed to what you do, and be committed to how you hold accountable your players, and the standards you want to have, and love the people you're coaching with, and love the kids you're coaching, uh, and
I love the just don't even worry necessarily right away about anything basketball related. Like establish all the other non-negotiables that have nothing to do with basketball.
sure, yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
think
I like
I
that a
mean,
lot.
any coaching job, I learned this, you learn a lot of different things, but most jobs you get aren't, the job wasn't open because it was in a great spot, I
There's
mean,
something about it is why
yeah,
it's
I
there.
mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so uh, it's a difficult career, I think in a lot of ways, but I think there's, I don't know what else, I would do, and I
Hmm.
think it's a special career, and it's a special position to be in, that I think don't take it for granted, and
No.
but uh, be committed to holding true to the values that are important to you, and because there's going to be there's a lot of rough stormy days, and
Hmm.
there's a lot of good ones, and the great ones, and
Yeah.
but
Awesome. Well, no, that's 100% true. To wrap up, coach, there's a couple questions I ask every guest. I'll go
okay.
ahead and start with this first one. So, thinking back on your coaching career, what is a moment from your coaching career that you think others listening would be able to learn from?
Hmm. um let's see, a moment from my coaching career, you know um I think it's hard to, it even we talked about before, just to define like one, I guess one specific moment. I will tell you, here's what it is. Here's one. If you are a stomper on the sidelines,
Okay. Okay.
you need to invest in either soft-toed shoes or would wear sneakers, because I I still don't agree with it, but I got a technical for stomping one night, and it was
No
just because
way.
I had loud shoes.
Really?
So, yeah, maybe I stomped loud, but I think I would have gotten away with it
That
had
is,
I been wearing tennis shoes.
I have never heard of that before. That
I'll have
is,
to, no, it happens. No, you get what you get, and I probably any technical I've ever gotten, I've thought I've probably
you earned
earned it
it.
somewhere else and just got away with it.
That one's a little different though. That is crazy.
Yeah,
That
but
is
if you're gonna stop, wear tennis shoes. There's that one
all right. Lesson learned. Lesson learned.
lesson learned.
To wrap up, Coach, I give every guest kind of what I call a 60-second soapbox, kind of like your platform to
Okay.
get out like a final message, a closing
Yeah.
thought. You can kind of take it any direction you want. So, and I'm not going to time you either. So if you go over 60
Oh man.
seconds, don't worry about it. But I'm going to open up the floor for you, Coach. You take it whichever direction you wish from here.
Okay. It is really important for the future of our game that we put shot clocks in every high school in America, and that we train people how to operate them. We need to completely do away with the 5-second count on the ball. That's what the shot clock's for. And if they can't make me give the ball back, then that's their problem. And finally, they need to make the NBA ELAM scoring like. Are you familiar with ELAM scoring?
A little bit, but go ahead and
Okay.
explain it though for those who might not be aware.
Okay, so ELAM scoring is where we play a set amount of time, and then at the end of that set amount of time, let's say the score is 60 to 50. Then we add 15 points to the highest score, so 75 in this example. 60 plus 15 is 75. And the first team to score 75 points wins. I think that would make the NBA much more enjoyable. They should try it out with the G League. I think they would be surprised. But I really do think that is my 60-second soapbox. I could actually talk a long time about that because the fourth quarter of the game is like the crucial point in the game, and that's when the fouling happens. That's when the game gets the sloppiest. And
Yeah.
you don't we could make it where you have to defend and you have to score to win. I think that would make the game a lot more enjoyable. But
I'm going to be looking out for your social media posts about that because I think there's probably a lot you could say about that though.
Yeah, I'm
I
sure.
get an hour just on that alone, huh?
All 6 followers would really be glued in on that one.
I like that. Awesome. Coach, I want to thank you for coming on here, talking about your program, talking about the program you are a part of. I'll be remiss and know that you are part of a bigger staff. I know that as well, but talking about practice culture, your practices, some real fun stories that you shared too, some real inspirational stuff about, players really giving it their all and the results they got out of it, which is great and awesome. So hopefully the off season's great. Hopefully the year coming up next year is great, and keep doing your thing, Coach. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
And thank you all for listening. This was another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Make sure to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.